All right, I'm doing it. I'm just pressing record. Welcome to Awkrad. This is a father and son YouTube channel that we've been doing for about 5 years. This is a new video series. I thought it would be really interesting to talk about our spice blend journey. And this series is going to highlight everything that we've done up until this point. And we're going to continue to do updates to the series. And hopefully at the end of this, we'll have a fully functional website where you can purchase the product and start to finish, all the little pitfalls, all the little things that I've learned along the way. And I'm not going to sell a course or any of that BS at the end of this. I'm just going to highlight the journey and hopefully help somebody else bring their dream to reality. And it could be a spice blend, it could be a hot sauce or something that you created, something that you want to sell. And I think the things that I go through here will probably apply to many different endeavors. So I think it'll be very interesting. I hope you guys stick with us. All right, origin story time. This will probably get boring for a lot of people, so what I'm going to do is try to break this up into chapters. And thought it would be interesting to go through the whole thing. I think it was back in the early 2000s, I was very much into technology. I registered a bunch of domain names. I even started a YouTube. Actually, it wasn't YouTube, it was Google Video at the time, a daily video channel where I uploaded videos every day, and we got quite a following way back in like 2004, maybe 2005, somewhere in there. It was pretty cool. But that time period, I was into like registering domains and trying to find things that I could do. I was an entrepreneur at the time. I had my own computer repair business. We did website development. It was quite an interesting time period. But that's the origin of Awkrad. Awkrad was something a word that we put together, and I really felt like at the time that it kind of defined me as where I was, that many years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but I've always been a little bit quirky. A little bit, some would say, awkward. I had 3 daughters growing up. I have a son now. But during that time, it was 3 daughters. So pretty much everything Dad did was very awkward. But at the same time, I did some pretty cool things. So Awkrad became an identity for me. Around the same time, my gamer tag Unzapped was something that I coined. So those 2 domain names I registered, unzapped.com and awkrad.com. And that's the origin of Awkrad as a name. And then fast forward to 2020, COVID, my son's getting a little older, kind of wants to get into YouTube and streaming and these kind of things. And, I know very well the dangers of the internet and social media. So I said, well, you know what? I did this. I did daily videos. I can do this. So we decided to join forces, and my son and I started our journey on this channel. And it's crazy to think it's been 5 years. It's crazy to think that we've had so many different things that we've talked about, so many different things that we've done, some successes, some not successes, some successes one day and gone the next. This YouTube channel journey has been interesting. For a long time it was, how do we get monetized? How do we get monetized? And so we chased that rabbit for a while, finally got monetized, and then, life changes. Life changes. We did a lot of streaming. At one point, we gained a lot of subscribers from doing vertical gaming streams. We still game all the time, but we don't stream as much anymore. And I think maybe you just grow out of it a little bit. I don't even know. And so I suspect it will continue doing things. I just don't know what those things are going to be. And that's kind of what this series is kind of going to highlight. It's a snippet, or it's a part of our journey, and it's kind of a culmination of things that I've learned over my life. I've had lots of successes and lots of failures. So I'm taking all that knowledge and everything I've learned about the internet and YouTube and trying to just build something that's successful and sustainable. And in these times, let's face it, we've got AI, we've got automation, we've got robotics, and all these things that are attacking humanity from that perspective that's going to change the way we live. I thought the path was always, go to college, get out of high school, go to college, get a degree, go get a job. I thought that was the path. And then this time, my son's in 11th grade, actually just finished 11th grade, and now he's moving into his senior year. And what do we tell him? Like, I don't know what career choice to even make at this point. What opportunity does college provide? I don't know. Obviously, the social interactions, obviously, learning a little bit more about reality. But there's no better way to learn about reality than to live it. That's what I learned. I started college. I went in the military. I started college. I got out of college. I went on the entrepreneurial thing, had successes, had failures. And, just trying to take that knowledge and be smart about something. Maybe even overthinking this project. And this project is a spice blend. I know it seems silly, right? Why would I want to sell a spice blend? And there's a bunch of reasons, I think. One of them is we've always enjoyed cooking in this household. And we've always prided ourselves in the fact that we always cook better than what we can get at a restaurant. I think probably a lot of people say that, but for us, it's kind of a reality. And cooking has been a fun journey because you're always trying to learn something new. You're always trying to try different things and experiment, and it's pretty cool. But the origin story of the spice blend is an interesting one all by itself. So, happened to be about 15 years ago that I had a job that required me to go out of town to train. And it was easier at the time for me to just stay there because it was far enough away. I didn't have a good, reliable vehicle, so there was a whole, because I had just come off being unemployed. I mean, I could go on and on about all the ups and downs of my life and starting from the bottom several times over. And it'd be a long story, but I'll stick to the origin story of the spice blend. So anyways, I'm living out of town. I was up there for probably several weeks. Family was home, really sucked. But when I was out of town, I stayed in a hotel, eating out of restaurants or eating out of a lunch bag. So we went to this restaurant called Main Street Pizza, and they had pretty good pizza. They also had wings, and they had this wing that was called the Main Street Dry Rub Wing. And basically, it was phenomenal. It was a dry rub chicken wing, and it had this super unique flavor that I'd never had before, and I wanted to share it with my family. And so I'm like, at the time, just researching like what could be in the spice. I'd do some recon missions at the restaurant to see what they would tell me about it. So I got some details, and anyway, curiosity, I ended up throwing a bunch of spices together and trying different ways to cook the chicken wings. And actually, we've got some shorts in our feed from a few years ago where we've done chicken wings a couple different ways, always using this blend, by the way. But the whole endeavor was to come up with a replication of a recipe that we had out that we wanted to bring home. So anyway, several iterations over the years. We always just used it for chicken wings. We never tried it on anything else. We got it pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. We had people over. We fed them the wings. They loved them. And, you know, we got to the point where we really liked the spice blend for that particular purpose. And that was kind of all it was. And we always kind of said, oh, yeah, maybe we could bottle it and sell it, you know, and that would be kind of cool. But we never really took that very seriously until probably maybe a year and a half ago. So the recipe evolved from cooking wings a certain way and getting a certain flavor. I think when we started, we were smoking our wings, and then we were putting them in wing sauce, and then we were putting them on the grill, and then we were putting the dry rub on and shaking it up afterwards, and that was cool, but it was a lot of work to make that wing. So we said, well, okay, let's engineer the spice to gather some of the flavors that you would get from the grill and gather some of the flavors that you would get from smoking, to maybe make these wings in the oven or in the air fryer or in the, you know, whatever. So we ended up doing that, and that's kind of what the evolution of the spice ended up being. So now we've got a chicken wing. We can throw frozen wings in our air fryer. We can fry them up in the air fryer, take them out, dip them in the wing sauce, throw them in the spice blend, and then throw them back in the air fryer, and we got a perfect wing. It's so good. That brings you up till about a year and a half ago. And about a year and a half ago, we shared the spice blend with some folks. And, you know, we made a batch because we were making some wings. So I always made a big batch and took the empty spice bottles I had laying around and put them in there. And we gave them to some of our family. And they started using it on other stuff. And reported back and said, hey, we need more of that. I'm like, what? You doing a lot of chicken wings or something? No, we use it on everything. I'm like, seriously? So that's something like I didn't really think about. Normally, in my spice cupboard, I've got certain spices that I use for certain things. You know, when I make steak, it's usually either salt and pepper on the grill, or I do a marinade I call steak black, which is kind of cool. It's a really nice marinade, by the way, but it does offer a unique flavor that not everybody would like. But I've done that, but that's why I do the salt and pepper, because that's my go-to, and you know, that's how I do steak. And then I do chicken thighs a different way, and I do chicken wings a different way, and a different set of spices, and I do ramen a different way, and I do barbecue a different way, different blends, different types of spices. And so I never really thought that this was a universal blend, that you could just pretty much use it on everything. So I'm like, all right, well, let's try it. Let's start using it on other things. And so we started using it on other things. And of course, it took the blend on another little bit of a journey to make it better for more things. And here we are, basically. We're here, and we've decided a couple of months ago that we're gonna try to bring this to market. And that's where this journey starts. That's where this series kind of starts. In, you know, how the hell do you do that? How do you take something and bring it to market? And more importantly, I'm going to go back because I want to tell you why this particular endeavor seems to make a lot of sense to me. We've had successes and failures, lots of them. When I look back in time over the things that we've been very successful on, have been things that have been very unique, things that only we could do at the time, things that were not easily replicated. Those are the things we had the most success with. I can cite a couple examples. One of them was our photo booth business. Around that same time, when I was working out of town, in training out of town, I built a photo booth. You know, somebody said, hey, you know, can you DJ a wedding? And of course I DJ'd for years, and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I was broke. I didn't want to DJ anymore, but I still had the equipment. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll do your wedding. I go to this wedding, and I'm like, okay, this is why I'm not a good DJ, because I don't have anybody on the dance floor at this time. This was probably right around 15 16 years ago. And I'm like, what? Where is everybody? I'm playing like the gold music. It took me weeks to prepare the set list and the MC and all that stuff. And I wasn't getting anybody on the dance floor. And so I walked away from the DJ booth to find out where everybody was, because nobody was in the whole freaking room. And out in the hallway, there was a giant line of people. And the giant line of people were out there putting props on, doing all kinds of crazy shit, getting into a photo booth. And I'm like, aha, that's where everybody is. That's why I can't have anybody on the dance floor, because everybody's out in the photo booth. I sparked an idea. Let me build a photo booth. And at the time, you couldn't buy a photo booth. There was no photo booth to buy. You pretty much had to build one. There were a couple out there, but they were in the $30,000-$40,000 range at the time, which was ridiculous. And I said, geez, it's just a computer and a camera and a printer. I can do that. So I developed a photo booth. I built it. I took it to a wedding. I gave it to him for free. We tried it out. It worked great. It was one of those evolutionary things, right? So I'd print on a 4x6 piece of paper, and then I would cut every single strip and hand them the cuts. And, I'd even print the dotted line so I knew where to cut. I mean, it was crazy. And then it evolved into a photo booth that kind of could take down and kind of become a transformer and slide in the back of a minivan and take it out. One trip in, one trip out. Printers that would cut the photo strip. So you have perfect little photo strips with the laminate, 100-year inks, all kinds of cool stuff. So we kind of developed that into its own thing. And that kind of died with COVID. It was a great run. But at the time, we also, my daughters were getting older and they were kind of not interested anymore. My son was too young to really be interested in anymore. And I didn't really want to work nights and weekends, Friday nights, Saturday nights. That's when the weddings happen. Sunday, it always happens on the weekends. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't really want to work on the weekends, especially back then. My career was just starting to take off. And so it kind of died. We still have the photo booth, but we don't promote it. We don't do much with it because I don't want to give up my weekends, really is what it boils down to. So I kind of do it as a favor for people, and that's about it. We're not doing it anymore. We lost all the business during COVID, and we just never tried to recover it. And that's the story there. But that story is important because it was extremely successful for several years. It was very, very successful. You could make a lot of money with a photo booth, $500-$600 a gig. And at one point we were doing a couple hundred gigs a year. And so it was significant income. And that was the one success that we had. And it was unique. Not many people could do it. We had a very unique photo booth that I built, and I'll I don't know if it's on the channel or whatever, but it's an interesting device, and maybe I do think there's a short. If you look up in our shorts, there is a photo booth video that shows what it is, and it's kind of cool. So maybe check that out. Maybe I'll link it somewhere if I think to do it after I publish this. But anyway, that was one unique success that we had. Another unique recent success that we had with this channel and with posting videos and making a product was we developed a 3D printed mic mount that worked with an Insta360 camera and a DJI wireless mic system. So you put this DJI wireless mic system on your 360 degree camera, and you have two mics, and it's all wireless, and the mic sat in the place where the stitch line was deleted, so you never saw that in there, and there was nothing like it on the market. So it was very unique. And once we started marketing it just a little bit, it went crazy, and we did, I think our highest month was around $3,000 in sales. And that's almost all profit with a 3D printed device part, because it was very tiny. But there's a lot of issues with that too. You can't really replicate that. It was unique for a period of time. And then other people said, hey, he's doing it, I can do it. Everybody's got a 3D printer now. So the uniqueness and the sheen of that wore off pretty quickly. Other people started selling them. Other people started designing them and giving those design prints away for free. And so it just kind of fizzled out. I don't know how else to put it. It just kind of fizzled out. But it wasn't a unique product that would stay unique forever, because there's going to be a new camera. There's going to be a new mic set. Actually, a new mic set did come out. And the new mic set was too thick to stay out of the stitch line. So you couldn't even possibly make a mount where that mic receiver would stay out of the stitch line. So it was in my mind, it was pointless to even develop something, because the mic itself couldn't be hidden. So it kind of lost its uniqueness. And as new cameras came out, people bought the new cameras, people bought the new mics. I didn't have a product anymore. So that's the journey. So there were little sparks in my journey that were very successful, and they were unique products, unique things at the time that did well. Another unique product that I had was the digital DJ, and it was really just, at that time I was DJing and I had CDs, and one of my buddies opened a bowling alley and he said, hey, you run the DJ thing for me. But he wanted me to run the DJ thing for him and check people in and give people their shoes and disinfect the shoes and DJ and do all that at the same time. And I can tell you right now, that was very difficult. But there was software at the time where if you converted your CDs to MP3s, you could have software and you can automatically DJ. And that's what digital DJ became. And we ended up developing a unique product all the way around that had digital licensing. We were the first company in the United States to actually have a digital license where we could sell a computer loaded with MP3s and sell the backlog of CDs, and they were completely legal and licensed. First in America. That product did very well, but that technology moved very, very fast. Things like Winamp came out, things like LimeWire, things like Kazaa. People started to download music and pirating it and doing all that stuff. So again, it was one of those unique products that didn't have any staying power, which is something to think about. There's a couple things that I've learned to stay away from. I've learned to stay away from things that other people can do, right? For a while, you could build a drone. I built drones back before drones were cool. I built drones, and I did drone photography, and I did some real estate stuff and made money with that. But nowadays, you don't even need to do that. Anybody can buy a $400 drone and go up and take a picture. So those are things that are moded out over time, over technology, as things progress. If you decided to open up a VHS rental store, Family Video, back in the day, what happened to those? What happened to Blockbuster? Those products are flash in the pan. They could be bridge products, technological bridge products. We bought a freaking CNC machine, 4 foot by 8 foot, $30,000 machine to make carved signs. Well, guess what? Everybody's making carved signs now. Everybody is. You can't compete online because there's big companies that are doing it. You can't compete locally because the next Joe Schmo in his garage is doing it. People don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for what it's the value of the product, for what the time you put in. It's just not worth it. So those are some of the failures we've had, and the reasons why they failed is because they've either outmoded, or too many people are doing them, or there's such strict competition online that you can't rise above and be unique anymore, because anybody can do what you can do as long as they've got the same equipment. That guy at the bottom of my hill owns a smoke shop where they sell vapes and weed and bongs and everything else, and he's got a freaking CNC machine in the back room. He's got a laser. He does custom this and that, and it's like, holy crap, anybody can do it. Then it's going to be too easy to be valuable out there. So that brings me to the spice blend. You watch shows like Shark Tank, and they tell you You need a product that's broad, that would be in everybody's household, that would solve a particular problem. That those are the products that tend to be very successful. How many houses in America don't have spices? How many people are not great cooks? I think when I was growing up, when I started thinking about how to market this, and I said, well, it's got to be universal. It's got to be iconic. It's got to be something that you would like Coca-Cola or like A1 steak sauce. It's in everybody's refrigerator. It's got to be that broad of an appeal to where it'll be there. It will go in your it'll go in your rack and be there, and you'll use it again and again and again because it works and because it tastes good. So if I didn't have a good product like that, if I didn't think that this blend did all those things, then I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't even bother going down this path to figure it all out, because it's a path. It's a path. It's something that it's something that you have to take into consideration, because there's a lot of competition in this space. There's no question about that. There's a lot of competition in the spice place. You got Meat Church, you got Dano's, a couple off the top of my head. But I've tried them. I've done my market research, and they've got some good stuff. But they don't have anything with a universal appeal. They don't have anything that works for everything. They've got, this blend for this, just like I said before. That's the way I used to do it. I've got this particular blend that I do for this kind of thing. I got this particular blend, and that works pretty good. And I didn't think it was even possible to have a universal kind of thing. And I'll tell you about this. I've used this in the last few weeks, and people that I've given samples out to have used this on brisket. They've used it on chicken wings. They've used it on pulled pork. They've used it on vegetables, corn on the cob. We've used it on popcorn. We've used it on unsalted potato chips, for crying out loud, because I was thinking, maybe how would I let people taste my product if I decided to go to a farmer's market? Well, I get a bunch of unsalted chips. They can sprinkle it on the chip and they can taste it. And I'll tell you what, I don't crave any other kind of potato chip, to be honest with you. I didn't really like it so much on popcorn, but it's not bad. It's pretty good. I've had other spices on popcorn I didn't like. But anyway, that's kind of the origin story. I'll go into the name a little bit here, and I'll show you the bottle. This is not quite 100% done, but core blend is what we went for. And I went with that hexagon for a particular reason also. And, we said season everything. I got some more work to do on the label still. But core is something, the word means core. It means this is your staple, right? This is the core spice that you should have in your cupboard. And what we've learned over the last few months, specifically, as we've really been trying to stretch the legs of what this product can do, the hexagon gave me the idea that, okay, if I've got a hexagon and that's the core, and I add another hexagon over here, then I got something different. It's almost like the building blocks of the elements, right? And so when I took the product and I said, okay, I'm going to use this as a base for my meat sauce for hot dogs. I've been very particular over the years on my meat sauce. I only did it a certain way. I never had a recipe for it, but I knew what I wanted in there, and I put it in there, and that was it. So I used it not too long ago to make a hot dog sauce. And I used about an ounce of it with a pound of beef and some water. And I mixed it in there, I was like, all right, let's see what happens. So I let it simmer for a little while, and then I said, okay, what do we got? And I tasted it, and this spice changes with its environment. If it's on a steak, or if it's in a meat sauce, it tastes completely different. On a chip, on chicken, it tastes completely different. The flavor profile blends with the meat, the type of meat you're using, and the way you're cooking it, and it just changes. It's like a freaking chameleon. That's why it's so unique. And so making the hot dog sauce, I liked it, but it was missing something. And when I make my hot dog sauce, I use chili powder. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let's do it. Let's put it in there. Let's make the meat sauce. It was good. Now I'm just going to take and add another hexagon. I'm going to add chili powder to this. Add my chili powder in there. Not a lot, actually. Just enough to get over top of the meat, and then mixed it in, tasted it, and it was bang on. Best meat sauce you've ever had in your life. Now, as far as hot dog meat sauces go, some people like it sweet, some people like it savory. I hate sweet meat sauce, so this is definitely on the savory side, but it's the best savory meat sauce you'll ever try. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. What does it do for taco meat, maybe? I don't know. Doesn't quite taste the right, you wouldn't think meat sauce would taste good on taco, and it doesn't. But if you instead put cumin as your hexagon instead of chili powder, you now have an amazing taco seasoning. Just one little tweak, dink dink, done. You don't have to go buy packets or any of that crap. You just need your core, and you need a little bit of cumin, and now you got taco seasoning that's off the charts. Same thing with barbecue rub. This by itself, savory barbecue rub, really good for prime rib maybe. Good for probably brisket, pork belly, something like that. But if you want something on the sweeter side, like for ribs, you take this, add some brown sugar, and you've got a barbecue rub that's out of this world. And, I'm not trying to do a sales pitch here. What I'm trying to do is show you why I've decided that this is a unique product that I want to spend all my time in, all my spare time in developing, marketing, selling, figuring out how to get the spice in the bottle, all the little regulations, all the little options, all the little ways that you can do it, and why the effort is going into this. It's also something that, if you can imagine a time in the future when many jobs are gone due to automation and AI, maybe within the next 20 or 30 years, this could be a real big problem. What's left? What do humans do? I think we go back to barter and trade. I think I might be able to take these spices and trade it to somebody for a 12-pack of beer. I think that's a possibility in our future. And it's unique enough that it's got its own value. So that's another piece of it. Oh, where do we go? Where do we go from here? So now I've got a product. How do you put the product in the bottle to make it worthwhile, right? Because you don't want to mix the product in your house. You know what I mean? You need to make a big giant batch of it. You need to fill 1,000 bottles of spice. You need it to be consistent. You need it to be the same every time. So you have to be a specialist in mixing and blending spices. Yes, you could buy the equipment. You could do it yourself, for sure. But who has that kind of money? I want to start in my home kitchen. Fine. And you can do it legally, because spice blends are in a category that allow you to have what's called a cottage license in most states. So as long as you put on here that it was made in a home, you can sell it in your state. Typically, you can't typically cross borders with it, but you can sell it in your state at farmers markets. You can even sell it wholesale to grocery stores, that kind of stuff, under that cottage license. And in the Cottage license, you can blend it and bottle it in the home in New York State, as long as you're not creating the spice. As long as you're buying a commercial spice like paprika and you're blending it with salt, you can do that. You can do that easy. So that's cool, but it doesn't give you the growth potential of the internet, or what this channel will ultimately help do, and that's get it out to the world. And so the next phase will be, you know, to get the UPC symbol on there, get the trademark all done, get all those things together. The labeling has to be just right, FDA approved, and all that stuff has to be bottled, packaged in a particular facility in a particular way. And now you have a product that you can sell over the internet to anybody in the world. But you can't just jump to that, because what I found is that's really, really expensive to jump to that. And so much so that, you know, I think it's probably pretty common knowledge that if you were to take something and say, okay, give me 500 of these, it will be this much money per. But if you buy 10,000, it'll be this much money per. And so if you buy 10,000 bottles of spice at $3 a bottle, that's a lot of money. But you could do that if you had that kind of money, and if you believed in your product and you were able to invest that kind of money, sure, you could do that. If not, you go the other route and you go with a minimum order quantity, and you buy 500 bottles, but it's going to be $6 a bottle. Well, I don't know about you, but when I buy spices, I don't pay more than $10 for a bottle of spice. So if I got to pay $6 for the bottle, the label, and the spice that's in there, but have it all packaged, and then I gotta put it on a website and gotta pay the website. I gotta pay, you know, if I do Amazon, I gotta pay the insertion fee. I gotta pay the percentage. You know, so there's just so many different factors that how do you like navigate it? How do you get to the point where it's like a good middle ground to start with, so you're not really killing yourself? So I'll tell you what I decided. What I decided was, I don't want to blend the spices in my home. It's just, I don't think I can get the consistency. I don't want to put the time and effort into it. I don't want to buy bulk spices and have them sitting around. I just don't want to do that. And so it's either go with the minimum order quantity and pay a huge dollar amount per bottle. So I'm up to like $6 or $7. And I can only sell it for 10, maybe make $3 minus my website costs. I'm not going to make any money at that. Or I can, you know, maybe find a middle ground to start. And so what we decided was we're going to go with the Cottage license in New York. We're going to pay somebody to mix the spices and send me a box of mixed spices. And we're going to bottle it by hand. We're going to label it by hand. And we're going to seal it by hand. And then we're going to sell it. We're going to sell it locally. We're going to sell it online. Even though that could kind of get us in a little bit of trouble. If I doubt we're a pretty small fish, so it's not like I'm talking about 10,000 units a month or something. I'm talking maybe 5 or 10 units a week or something like that. If we're lucky to sell it online, sell it maybe through this website, or maybe we just do samples for people that are out of state. I don't know. I haven't quite figured that piece of it out yet, but I want to start small because there's a couple things. I'm biased with this product because I made it. So I really need to get it in as many hands as possible, and as many hands as possible that can provide me the feedback and the validation that I do have a unique product and all the things that I said earlier in this video. So that's what we're going to do. I found that I can bottle it myself. I found that I can make the labels. I've already designed these myself. I got to order them. And I've got a little machine to put them on. But every little turn that you take with this, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn. These bottles that I found were the best price I could find online. But if you notice, they've got a little dip here. Now, the machine that I got, the hand crank label machine that I got, was pretty cheap. It was like $100, something like that. It won't work because the rollers are wider than the width here. So because of that, I've got to 3D print a sleeve that'll go over the roller, that'll get down into this channel and smooth that label around. So I'll definitely be talking about that in a subsequent video and how I did that. And I'll share with you, the machine that I bought, and I'll even share with you the STL file if you want to get that thing, the sleeve printed to fit the particular bottles that I bought off of Uline, which anybody can buy from. They're the most inexpensive bottles that I could find that did everything that I wanted them to do. And yeah, so that's kind of what we decided to do. We're going to have somebody package it up, send us a big 50-pound box. We're going to put them in a bottle. We're going to put a label on it. We're going to seal it. And then we're going to go out and hoof it. We're going to hit maybe a couple farmers markets. We're going to hit a couple of little farmer stores, like little, stores that have like grocery and produce, that kind of thing. And we're going to hit those up and talk to you guys. Solicit feedback from everybody. Make sure we've really got what we needed. Hopefully start to build up a level of sales that would warrant us to jump to that next phase. And that next phase probably is going to be to have somebody co-pack. But I got to get there first. I gotta mentally get there. I got to understand what the volumes need to be in order for that to make sense. I got to be sure that I'm going to be able to sell it. So there's a lot there that I got to figure out. Then there's the whole distribution side of the house. You can get a Shopify store. You can put your product up there. You can sell it. You can package it. You can print your shipping label. You can put it in a box and you can get it to somebody. Fairly, it probably costs $5 to ship this. $10 spice, $5 shipping. Problematic. But it is what it is. I can probably get it down to a couple bucks less than that without any tracking. I can make it make more sense by doing a 3-pack. So you're paying the same shipping for 3 bottles. There's a lot of different ways that we can deal with that. But the other piece is, and I think this is a scalability issue as well, is you can have things fulfilled by Amazon. So in a perfect world, I think a lot of people are doing this. Probably, I would guess at maybe 5,000 to 10,000 units a month. I think they're probably having somebody co-pack it and send it to Amazon, and Amazon puts it in their warehouse, and when they place the order online, they get prime shipping. Amazon picks the order, ships it to you, and they deal with that whole process on the back end, and you don't touch a thing. And that would be ideal for us to get to, where we don't have to touch anything, where we just put our spice out there, boom, boom. A lot of money involved in that. You got to really have a lot of marketing involved there. Your per profit goes way down. Same with, like, if you were to get into a big box store, they're going to squeeze every last dime out of you. And the only way you're going to make money is if you sell them 100,000 units. And I don't know if I want to get there anytime soon. Right now, I think we can go direct to consumer. I think we can even go direct to consumer with Amazon carts without them doing the fulfilling. But you have to meet certain requirements in order to get the Prime badge. I mean, there's a couple things I'm still working on there, but that's kind of the basics of what we're talking about, the fundamental plans we have. So yeah, and just if you're curious, like I said, I'm not going to share this with you right now, but just to give you an example of my latest and greatest, looks like I'm going to be roughly $3.50, maybe $3.60 for me to build this, product. And I'm going to sell it right now for $9.99 a bottle. And if you buy 2, I'll sell it for some discount, maybe 2 for $18 or 2 for $15, something like that, where it'll make more sense for me to do 2 from a profit perspective, and make more sense for the consumer to be able to get a couple bottles and get a discount. So that's kind of where we're thinking. So at that level, that $3.50, $3.60, something like that, at that level, you know, you're making like $6 a bottle in profit. That pretty much will cover the labor costs of bottling it by hand and putting a label on it and sealing the top. And that should sustain. Get a couple batches, get them in and out, get some cash flowing, see where things land, and that's the route we're taking. So I think that's the end of this video. Maybe I'll get into some of the other things that I got. I really kind of want to see what people's response to this is. If you have any questions or comments or things that you'd like to see or know more about, you can do that. But you just leave a comment and I'll respond, and we'll just go from there. So that's it. Hope this is interesting for you. I hope as we get into more details here, I hope this will be something that helps you along and helps you make decisions if you want to do something for yourself. I will absolutely get into a little bit more about what I learned about co-packing, what I learned about co-blending, because that's kind of what they're doing. They're not packaging it for us. They're just going to blend it and ship us a bulk box back. You know, bulk spices, other options. I ran into another option where I actually right up the road here, about an hour from my house, there's a company that will take your spices, you give them the bulk spices, and then they'll mix it and put it in a bottle for you. And that's another option, but that again turned into like you know, $5-6 a bottle for yourself, like my cost, and that just doesn't make sense. You know, I think sweet price point here between $7 and $10 is perfect, and I think people would even pay more than that if the spice is everything that I said it is, because it is a pretty wild blend. So anyway, like I said, hit me up with some comments, ask some questions, and make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can get notified for the next video in the series. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.